General advice, warning and disclaimer. Opinions, thoughts, research, recommendations and content presented are general advice only. They do not take into account your specific circumstances. Please consult a financial professional before making any investment decisions. For further information on our disclaimers and general advice, please see our website and our PDS.
Hey there, welcome to this week's edition of Bulls vs Bears, gentlemen.
Hi there, everybody.
No one on their yacht this week. It's all.
No, we're all here.
Well, we can't afford a yacht. Market's off. The market's off 10%. Well, in the last 2 or 3 weeks or something, or since February.
Oh, so, it's trying to bounce here, but it's been pretty weak. But I think what's most disappointing is that I think S&P's down 6 or 7. Mag 7's going into correction territory, but the ASX is like down 11% now or something like that. Like it's it underperformed on the way up, but on the way down it seems to show its mettle. So that's disappointing.
Well, it depends on how you want to. If you look at a glass half full, there's like, for the first time I reckon in a year for me, I went on the call and I was like, back the truck up in a few stocks that were actually genuinely cheap. Mm-hmm. So. Whereas I think people have just been rolling their eyes at me for the last 12 months where I'm just going, I like the company, but way too expensive. And I've been copping, the eye roll or whatever, but it's just like, well, how's your CBA BHP trade going now? So, and I think BHP particularly with that exposure to copper, looking pretty good. But I was on with Ben Clark this Thursday and pretty friendly list.
Was it all top 50? Oh, sorry. All
pretty
large caps, yeah?
There was everything was absolutely, there was no small cap. There was no stock I hadn't heard of. I think he tends to get pretty friendly lists. I don't think they do me any favours, but considering some of the stocks I've got over the years, but Fortescue was one, which obviously is pretty cheap. BlueScope Steel wasn't too bad. Everyone's freaking out about that, but the US operation is actually bigger than their Australian operation, so tariffs don't really affect them. Yep. CSL, which is just it's just a bit like mental that it's down here at 250 after their results, and I think that apart from that range trade we do, like it had a reason to go and break that record high after earnings, really, if it wanted to, and here it is at the bottom of the range again. So pretty good opportunity there. Boss Energy, uranium was the stock of the day. I basically said if you've got a weak stomach, just don't bother. The other thing I said was if you're a little bit panicked about markets, given the price action the last couple of weeks, go and find a uranium investor and they'll laugh at you because they're down about 70-odd%. So Next DC was the only sell, but that was only because they're just a crap version of Goodman Group, basically, and I don't really understand why everyone's putting them at 200%, well, 100% above price targets when Goodman has more data centers, better locations, more captive customers already. Less debt and pays a dividend.
And they've got a bigger pipeline as well. So, an actual...
a bit of pipeline.
Yeah, in terms of megawatt capacity as well. So, it's just... that. It's always the biggest one in the space.
That's like buying Next DC is like buying a junior miner that might come into production versus buying Newmont. Why would you bother? There's a lot of execution risk. Oh, and management signed themselves up to a bonus scheme where they get $150 million if they can get 7% growth. So,
but the thing is, you actually see the share price numbers for Next DC. It's actually like, whoa! That if they get the share price there, they actually deserve that because it's pretty lofty.
But I mean, it's I think that's a bit of poor taste. They could have just slid that through. But I look, who knows whether they get there or not. But now that it's like you always say with once the thematic, the air goes out of the thematic, then the ASX loves to just dump stuff.
Yeah, so that's the ASX has the memory of a goldfish.
Yeah,
when you're hot, you're hot. But once the air goes out, they move on to the next
It's
string,
a-
and
it's
you're
a-
like, who cares about data centers?
So, but Goodman's will survive no one caring about data centers.
Yeah.
Next DC, maybe not with the level of debt they've got. So yeah, but switch to real assets this week, boys. It's been,
That's it. Yes.
I'm going to take an opportunity to say, despite being wrong for 11 months straight, this is my week. So I'm still very copper hasn't got through that record, and I'm still very nervous that it doesn't go. And silver's, which probably means it breaks this time.
I think they're on the cusp. They're right. They're touching right at the resistance level.
Yeah.
So I think it has a good crack.
I'm not believing until it's 10% through. To be honest, I've fallen into that trap before. So
Yeah, exactly. And you got to think about like the amount of money, like the size of gold, silver, and copper versus the actual market cap of the Mag 7. It's just like light and day. Like I don't know what the actual ratio is, but if that rotation continues, then like we're kind of just seeing the start of this gold.
Nvidia's way bigger than all of the miners in the world combined.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's what I meant. So it's just, if this is just the start of it, like, we could see a lot more.
yeah, we just have to get a couple of investment banks to recommend switching out of Mag 7 to gold. you could almost double the market cap.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. I mean, Trump obviously not helping. And I'm loving the conspiracy theories that he's actually trying to destroy the share market so he can get interest rates down, because Jerome Powell won't take interest rates down. He'll need an excuse. I think that's a pretty long bow to draw. Tesla bounced because Sean Hannity and Donald Trump both bought a Tesla. So two orders. Going to really move
two orders.
Yeah. 2 orders, yeah. And they might have to start a GoFundMe page for poor Elon, right? I've thought it'd bounce this week. Well, not bounce hard, but the price action way worse than I expected.
Yeah. So, like, basically since October 23, we've been up in pretty much a really, really consistent uptrend. I think we had a bit of a pullback for, what was it? Yen carry trade around August last year, and
For a day.
yeah, that's what I meant. So in December last year, we had a bit of a pullback as well, which got me a little bit bearish. But then within a day, it bounced back, and this is the first time where I've seen, you're like, okay, this is where it actually bounced from last time, in terms of a chart formation, but it just hasn't. Especially here in the XJO, like you think, okay, there's that intraday bounce that I've seen before. And then you come back next day and it's just more selling.
Yeah. And like Trump's just like with the one day we had the 4% down day in the NASDAQ, which was proper horrible. And then it was up 2% or 1.5 to 2% the next night. And then Trump held a press conference. It's like he just needs
well, you actually had that drawing, like basically the bull.
Yeah, the bull holding the shut up. So I think investors are just getting a little bit. It's a bit tricky to buy the dip when your president might come out at any moment and put a 200% tariff on EU wines, for instance, or steel and aluminium.
Oh, and my observation is the VIX is actually still quite settled. Like it's trading 26, but it hasn't had that. Usually VIX has that spike.
Yeah,
and that's once you see that spike, you're like, okay, here we go. Like that's the capitulation move we had, and we haven't had that yet. So
it's a bit more like frog in a pot, sort of. It's simmering away, and before it realizes that it'll be out. So
exactly.
There wasn't any US earnings. Nothing of any note. So.
We're talking Aussie stocks still. Highlights of the week. Like this is a pretty comprehensive list there. For me, I think the overall thematic is basically if you're not mining gold, you got sold off this week.
Yeah.
So, all the gold miners, or some of the miners actually bounced, but all the gold miners just kept popping up on my screeners. And apart from that, everything else just got absolutely hit.
America's got finally, it's starting to crack, right? Like all the things that it threw the market threw at it before, it just keeps going high.
Exactly.
High.
So,
and the day it fell, it was holding, and we were in that risk management plan we have for it. we sort of sold 10%, and I sold it and just went, there's nothing sure that this makes a monkey of me. Immediately, I think it was up like 5% over the next day, and then I'm like, I don't want to. I'm just sick of watching it make an ass of me. And then I looked around and it was like down 12%, and I'm like, and it went like serious volume. So it's sort of set. It has settled at around 20. 230.
It's trying to bounce, but like I think it's just that continued rotation we're talking about. Like basically, all of the expensive stocks are just getting sold off at the moment, and it's finding a home in something cheaper.
That's going to be that you like the hardest task in the world is where do you buy Pro Medicus back?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like Telix is one the growth stock we've got, but it's a bit more mature and not at a gazillion PE. And we know, it's a little bit more surety around the pipeline, and its price action's been pretty good. It's been hit on days, but it's bounced back. But look, you could buy 200s with confidence, and it could go to 140. Who knows? Or this could be the low, and you've missed your opportunity. Like
that's true. Like it's such
a tricky one.
It's such a tricky stock. The fundies love it, but then if I think what you want to see is that if it comes out with some earnings and it gets bought up again, you're like, okay, you got to jump back on that train. But as always, like if they actually beat earnings, so all the way through they kept beating earnings and it kept rising. Usually when if you beat and then something sells off, you're like, okay, now times to change. So until that happens, I'm still think you do buy the dip, but as soon as that sentiment changes, as I said, like ASX does have a memory of a goldfish.
But I mean that 2022 fall, like the market darlings, like and like and even like solid market darlings like Nick Scarley, which never trades that halved. Goodman Group halved. Hub 24 dropped 60%. Like WiseTech 60%. Like, and they capitulated horribly because it was like, oh, they'll be fine. Oh my God, they're not fine.
Yeah.
So that's the really tricky thing is that you just what I learned out of that period was don't get full too early. And space it out. So that's
good advice. Like basically, just you don't have to dive right in again. Just dip your toe in, see how you feel, and then like if it's starting to if the market's telling you you're in the right position, that's when you can add in.
Well, So I fell into the FOMO trap when we had our first bounce in 2022, and I wrote it down, and I almost got it tattooed in my back of my hand, so I never do that again. Basically, so. Because then I had nothing left when it bottomed out. So, which is painful, really, when that happens because you just get stuck. So your valuations go out the window big time. So, US stocks. What do we got?
Look, basically, I think the key is that the Mag 7's down. I think. Is it in correction territory? I think it's down 20% versus the.
No, it's in bear market territory. It's down 20%. So I don't like those 10% correction bear market. It's like because it doesn't take into account that it probably shouldn't have been up there in the first place. But I would say bear market territory is like another 15% from here really in the Mag 7. But you've got to get all the leverage out yet.
Exactly, and like if you it's fallen down 20%, but it's up like a 5-bagger or something.
Oh, so you're like, well, and on the year, like Nvidia is well above where it was in the carry trade thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It got to $80 or something. It was with $20 above that. So, I don't think that. But I mean, look, obviously, Tesla, it's just been belted. Everyone said you'll never get 300s. It's now 230.
It actually fell below the rally point of when Trump got elected. So it pretty much almost doubled on that rally, and then back down below that level now. So quite volatile that stock for something that's so such has a.
Was that why Elon was right? Well, someone said that Elon.
Well, look, Trump's bought two cars. Trump's bought one car. So
Sean Hannity bought the other. Fox News is trying to get behind him.
That's how it is. Like, let's all help Elon out and buy a car.
Yeah, but well, I mean, he's actually, but not being particularly self-serving on the surface, doing all this stuff. But apparently, as the one of the beautiful market rumors is that his entire net worth is him lending money based on his Tesla stock. So if there's ever a margin call on that, Armageddon.
That is scary.
I think that's a margin call that it's too big to call. So I think you basically
that's a too big to fail.
He would just be sitting there just smiling at them, going, "Do you want to? Come on, I dare you." So because I've got SpaceX, you're going to end up with Tesla stock. But we've kind of it's been. Everyone keeps asking.
Got the market map up or? No?
Oh, no, I've forgotten my duties here. And that was tier leagues.
And then
there we go. There's the market map.
What's that for the week?
So Nvidia's done bear market territory in a week. That's pretty ugly. So and Meta, that was mostly last night. Berkshire Hathaway, you'll notice in the grey there, is best because it's sitting on the 350 billion in cash.
All in T-bills.
Yeah. So Tesla, only down 9% this week. But look, healthcare, as we outlined last week, healthcare, consumer staples, utilities seem to catch a bid, and the Mag 7 not so much. So price to book ratio is in the US the average, and the chart was a week old, so this has probably changed it a little bit now. Is still beyond the previous record high. So this thing,
this is just a start. If it is gonna, if we are gonna talk value now, like actually get back to a reasonable value, this does have more to go.
Don't forget, Nvidia put on 1.4 trillion in this rally.
Yeah,
that's quite a lot of money. So, but the rest of us will get dragged out. Costco continued to fall. I was surprised that didn't bounce.
Oh, really?
Not by much, but it's been a lot more volatile than normal. So, and the banks again getting a little bit hit as well. But I think next week will be interesting. I don't see a capitulation just yet. There's not enough people. I always reckon you've got to be here by the dip at least 3 times.
And how many times have you heard it so far?
Just the once now at the moment.
Okay.
But mind you, when the last time, that theory is based on it actually going back up. This time by the dip and it bouncing like a flat basketball.
Yeah, this time feels a little different.
It does feel a little bit different, So and been very little out of China as well for all the trade war talks. I haven't seen a single story about them retaliating.
It's just business as usual.
Well, yeah, they're just waiting. It's like when your kids are on a sugar high. You just wait till they run out of energy. So, but yeah. So what commodities, JT? What have we got?
Commodities. So gold, silver, and copper all busted out last night. So if you look at that gold-silver ratio, the silver move was actually larger than gold last night. Copper just nudging that $5 level as well. So all looking very strong. And as we say, it's rotation out of paper assets into real assets. That's why gold, silver, and copper all had those great moves. Uranium, disappointing, but at least it's not making new lows.
Lately that's a good week for uranium.
Yeah, exactly. Crude oil still around that 65.
Bitcoin bounced.
Yep, it has a little bit. Iron ore. I think Westpac came out and said that because Rio invested $2 billion in expanding production in the Pilbara, they said that could actually increase supply and drop prices 30%. So that was Westpac. Bitcoin, it's been definitely volatile, but it's down at a lower level. So what you see is that in Bitcoin, there's a lot of stops in obvious places. So it broke, I think, last week's low at around 78K, and then it's bounced back. So it's hovering around that 80 level. I have been expecting it to bounce, but it hasn't been following gold and silver. Maybe the whole real assets thing actually has to be.
It's confused whether it's a tech or
exactly. Is it a risk play or is it a store of value? Looks like at the moment
it's not transgender, it's trans asset. So and now that Trump's in power, I don't get into trouble for saying that.
Yeah.
So, one thing I was going to the iron ore numbers, it's up. So they must be listening to Westpac. It's up. I think it's recouped all of those weekly losses.
Okay.
Today by 12 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
so yeah, good, well done, Westpac. Maybe you and the AFR should get up, catch up for a beer and crap on iron ore constantly.
Yeah.
So they've been calling the death of it for 12 months now, and has gone nowhere. It's exactly the same price.
Yeah. And last one, dollar index, quite steady around that sort of 103, 104. So I think we're having, see a bit of a to and fro here. It's like basically the market wants to go risk off and sell down the US dollar, but it's like there's still a bid there because it is a store of value as well.
One thing that has disappeared was when they were saying the US dollar is going to go. There was people saying they were bullish US dollar because tariffs will be good for the US dollar. That investment thesis has dropped off the face of the earth. I have not seen that in writing the morning report for probably 2 weeks now. And that was a big thing. And then, I think that the
US dollar.
the Dixie all of a sudden dropped about 6 or 7%, and they're crawling back into the hedges like Homer Simpson in that episode, and then disappearing because that's got at least another 15 to 20% to go because they released the government deficit numbers October, November last year.
Mm-hmm.
Worst government deficit to start the year and their financial year in a month by 40%, $620 or $650 billion deficit, double tax receipts. That
So what has the tax receipts gone down, or has those come in and changed things up?
There was a really which we should probably put up on the presentation, but we might chuck in the comments or whatever. But there's a great the revenue and profit and loss flows that they do for companies. They did one for the US government. And the Doge savings was like that. Was a tiny little pimple at the bottom. But
maybe the theories were true. Like maybe Trump is playing the. He's trying to get it back down to zero. Like
maybe
help.
What happens to tax receipts then? Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be if he's forcing people into selling, there'll be a lot of capital gains realised in the Mag 7 this year. But so the debt spiral chart that I did a year ago, it's so much worse than that. Like the last 12 months, it is
that chart looks like
that chart that basically goes like it's like a reverse ski slope. It is significantly worse than that chart. I'll have to update it with the debt clock, and there's a Doge debt clock as well. So I might run a second line over it to show how much of a pimple on the arse of the debt it is. But and there's still, he reckons he's going to solve it by tariffs, but good luck with that. But yeah, it's like I could not believe the numbers. It's there's a bar chart, and the worst deficit's like 300 billion, and this one's just like 650. So
trillion or like
no billion. No, this is a deficit in the month.
Oh,
just the month.
Right. Yeah. Cumulative. It must be like something.
Oh, it was around 36, 37 trillion.
Oh no, we passed 36 for ages ago.
Oh, okay.
It's more about what the interest payments are as a percentage of the tax revenues, and it's spiraling pretty bad. So he does have to get interest rates down. So maybe the stock market's going to have to take one for the team.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can't actually have both. So someone's
got to pay at some stage. Maybe the Mag 7 might, not be incorporated in Bermuda anymore, and actually have to pay some tax at home.
Oh, it all makes sense now. So maybe that's why he's going so hard for Greenland, going for Canada, it makes sense actually. Like that's the only way to pay it off. Maybe.
Yeah.
He's thought about it.
Well, maybe he sees Greenland as a development deal. Mineral development, but and obviously we've just had the normal just to and fro bullshit. So 200% tariff on EU wines.
Well, didn't he double the tariffs for Canada this week? then they. pulled
Oh
back.
yeah, no, Ontario governor or whatever, he did a retaliatory tariff. So then Trump goes, "Well, I see you and raise you," and so he said 20% tariff on you, and then he went, but he matched it, and then as only Trump can do, he got insulted by that and then doubled it. So he started the fight and then got insulted when the bloke had a swing. So, but then the guy caved caved in hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're talking 3 hours.
Wow.
I was talking to a bloke and he's like, "Oh, what about this thing?" And I went, he'd read the paper in the morning and it was lunchtime and he'd already reversed his decision. Like that's how, like, you can't have 3 hours out at the moment.
Man. Trump would be a brilliant poker player, wouldn't he? Jesus.
Well, statistically, though, there's only so many times where you can go all in. Yeah, because even with the bottomless pit of the US Treasury, it's the cupboards are bare.
Maybe it's like that in real life as well. Like too many bluffs and someone calls his hand. And...
Well, that's the thing. Like, he can just keep bluffing because
that's why I reckon China's just, as I said, they're just like, we'll wait. It's okay.
Oh, you one day.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, but so you need some electric vehicles and some computer chips, like So, and I did read more further to your the progression in the chip manufacture.
Yes.
There is a lot of rumors swirling around that they're because they've stolen. Well, sorry, they have. There's a random Saudi Arabian or Singaporean blokes ended up, bringing a container full of NVIDIA chips to China somewhere to reverse engineer. But with deep seeking things, obviously being able to work out reverse engineer the manufacture is so much faster than it used to be now. So they reckon that they've either already matching Taiwan or they're within 6 months. But they're not obviously not telling anyone or whatever. No. But and it just could be rumors. I don't know.
They're the articles that are posted in the chat with the was the LDP versus the So it's they're not as far behind as we think.
But the reasoning behind it is that the ability for AI to iterate and reverse engineer the manufacture. So 70 years. There's
DeepSeek actually reverse engineered the chips.
So a drug that took 70 years to develop for cholesterol in the US, a year ago, did that whole 70 years of research with they gave it the same base information. 2 months. Oh, sorry, 10 months, not 2 months. And $1 million. They spent 70 years and $10 billion on that drug. So that's the thing, is that the speed at which they can test 10,000 designs is like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not, it's not some scientist sitting there going, "Oh, God damn it!" It's like it's just smashing through them.
Yeah, I think they're plugging the gaps in the chain because with the ultraviolet ray machines that ASML, apparently they're pretty close in terms of replicating a machine. Using a slightly different technique.
Yeah, the LDP or something like that.
Yes, yeah. So I can never remember.
Yeah, so that's the article I sent you. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. Yeah. But basically, they've done the DeepSeek on the chip manufacturing.
Yeah.
So it's not the same. It's not exactly as good as ASML, but it's like 80-90%. Yeah. But it's a whole lot cheaper. So it's just like, well. That's China's.
That's China's formula.
That's China's formula.
But what used to take 2 to 5 years now takes 2 months.
Yeah.
So this is what the frightening speed. And I've finally kind of, I'm a bit AI'd out. I got to the start of about the 6th book since December, and it was one of those, the robots are going to kill us ones, and I'm just like, oh no, I just was like, nah, I'm out. And it was like, full Sarah Connor crap. But it was the big takeaway is how fast the internet boom would, like how things sped up there. This is just so so much faster. It's ridiculous. Like this is going to be just breakneck speed. Like GPT only came out public. Well, when in the App Store like late 2022.
Yeah, 2 years.
2022, late 2022.
Okay.
So, and eclipsed the most popular apps of all time in like 3 months. So, and we've even noticed using it here, it's so much better than what it was.
Oh, yeah.
Like even 6 months ago. So, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they've definitely got those chips running, and because they are just very quiet. They're not retaliating to anything.
Well, that's what I said. Look, I think the whole implication is that, like, they don't even need to go to war and get Taiwan. They've already got what they need.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only issues, they don't want a war because they're not food independent. Like not even with Russia's help. So they probably, they'll just, I think they're just chipping away quietly, and they'll take whatever because it hurts the US consumer. That's a good
choice of words. They're just chipping away.
That's just chipping away. Yeah. All
right. So
trade of the week.
Trade of the week. So Helia Group. This is one that sprung up on our. Sorry, I actually had it on the call on that day, and I just said
on the day it went up.
Yeah, on the day.
Yeah, right.
I just said screaming by single-digit PE in the mortgage insurance space. So, and the main fundamental thing that I got when I went through the report was the increased use of mortgage insurance, because if you're trying to buy here in Sydney, like good luck trying to get a 25% deposit down to avoid mortgage insurance. So a lot of people just have to use it just to get into the market.
Yeah, I thought I was like, it's 100% renewal rate.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, that's right, because it's compulsory. They take your mortgage off you if you don't take it out.
Yeah.
So pretty important insurance.
And so the key with Helia is that I thought it was a buy up there, but what they did announce is that it's a 69 cent fully franked dividend. So
and an additional 100 million in the buyback.
Yeah. So the key was, like, we sent it out yesterday at 570. At that level, it was paying a 12.1% yield just for next week.
Yes.
At 555, I'm thinking it's nudging 12.9.
Well, and 100% franked.
Yeah.
So this morning at the moment,
so that doesn't include franking credits.
Yeah.
So that's just div yield based on the actual amount you get.
So at the moment, what we're saying to clients generally is we're never just buying in one clip. We're always spacing things out. So we bought into the close yesterday I think most people got done 563 to 570. We bought this morning. Some people got 540s. And it's bounced back up a little bit today. There seems to be like a VWAP order that's coming down, but there's a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing behind the VWAP order at the front of the market till $6.
Yeah.
So once that's obviously done, so the thing is, CBA is 53% of their business, and they're up for contract renewal. So that's the risk. Macquarie Bank reckons it's a big risk, and it is one customer paying half. However, they don't have any competition. QBE's left the market, and they were the only other person who can tender. And mysteriously, some insurance company out of Bermuda is going to aggressively bid, supposedly, that's never been involved in Australian insurance before, which I dare say is just someone from CBA spreading a rumour to make sure they don't get screwed by Helia. But and we were discussing today, the tidy up of the balance sheet and everything, and because the other alternative was that CBA starts their own internal, which, why not just buy Helia?
Exactly right.
It's $1.5 billion. It's like Matt Common's got that in the safe in his office at CBA. I would have thought he'd probably pay cash.
Well, look, just 1.5. That's nothing. Yeah.
No, and in net profit wise, would be 2%. So, and obviously they're giving away margin to these guys. So I reckon, and is rank speculation. I'm not basing this on anything but my opinion. I reckon CBA is going to buy them. So
let's hope so. I mean,
wouldn't it be awesome to get a 13% dividend and get bought out?
Yeah, get dividend, and they accept the $6 offer.
This is a very, very, very poignant time to say these are thoughts and opinions only. This is not financial advice. But and I'm probably just being a bit silly on a Friday afternoon. But it seems like an odd thing to do when you've got your biggest customer to go and like double your buyback and pay out a massive special divvy when you literally have half of your business at risk. Like, surely you wait until that contract's signed and then pay it out, right? So anyway, I'll definitely be wrong, so don't worry about it. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so last week were we all bears?
I was a little bit bullish, but in terms of expecting there'd be a buy the dip.
Yeah, the dip didn't come last week.
The dip didn't really come. I mean, what are we down for the week in the S&P? I don't even. I didn't even.
I forget the number. No. Yeah, it's not actually that much.
It's not that much.
Like intraday, there's been some big moves, but like on each day, it's like 1.5. Like it's been under 2. Basically.
Yeah.
So I think the Nasdaq had a 2.5% day.
Dow could be up.
Yeah. But either way, I think we've seen a little bit of a sign of a bottom here in the XGO just for today. So I'm gonna go bullish. Yeah, next week.
I'm gonna go the Widowmaker, long SPY short at US, which has a statistical success rate of about minus 100% most of the time. That's what we call it, the Widowmaker. It's
there's always a few Widowmaker. There's the short Australian banks. That's a Widowmaker.
Yeah, that's a Widowmaker.
I think you buy JGBs, was it?
Yeah.
You can't go lower than 0.
And I'm just thinking, I must have a death wish because I'm pretty sure I've done all of these trades before.
And the SPY is going to play catch up to the S&P. that's
no. But here's my reasoning, though. I reckon tech continues to fall, but we've had no bounce in BHP or Rio or the material sector's down this week, and commodities have gone up. So
no. So gold, silver, and copper have gone up. I haven't looked at the base metals.
Well, iron ore's flat, and it's a pretty large chunk of our. I mean, silver. We don't have any silver miners, but we got a lot of gold miners. Iron ore's bounced back a little bit, and that Fortescue's at $15 for God's sake. And copper's nearly at record highs, and Rio and BHP are two of the biggest copper producers in the world, and Sandfire. So that's
so long SPY, short S&P.
Yeah, that's me. I'm gonna add a degree of difficulty, but I think that rotation into real assets is going to continue. So, did we know what fear and greed was?
Oh yeah.
Is it negative yet? No,
but it's pretty low. It means that's
the same as last week.
It's the same as last week. One thing I did find out, this lags the update on the junk bonds thing. So I have been checking credit spread. They haven't really got it. So it's still, everyone's still super comfortable only having a 1.5% spread between junk bonds and investment grade.
Yeah, I've been trying to read a bit more on that, but I think it's kind of like the passive bid in the equities. There's a passive bid within some of the high yield spreads. And some of the actual rotation out of some of the high yield debt as well. So.
Well, yeah, and they're usually for duration, so that'll depend on when people have to reload.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So
always lag.
There's a lot of debt that has to be rolled this year, and I think they've been delaying it for as long as possible. And they're waiting for Trump to get those rates down.
Yeah,
before they roll.
But they're not record level of puts were bought in the last week.
Okay,
so,
well there you go.
So that's where I reckon that could mean not a short squeeze, but I think people have gotten pretty covered this week. So I'm still sticking to my following the pattern of 2022. I reckon it'll sucker people in, and then the real fall's not until May.
Okay. Well, either way, so for next week, I'm bullish. I think. Yeah.
And Kai.
You as well.
I'm actually going to go to the book out.
Okay.
Not massive run up, but last week I said.
Well, don't forget, all we're doing is like week to week. So basically, last night's close versus next week's Thursday's close.
Yeah.
Is a higher or low?
Yeah. This actually
I'm a reluctant bull by the sound.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite of what I said last week because I was like, we're going to get a big sell off and then recover a little bit. The recoveries of the sell off's been slightly underwhelming and the recovery's been coming, but
You kind of got that right. It was down 4% Monday and it's ground back up. So you pretty much nailed it, really.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go. It's going to try bounce early and then it's going to flatten out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon that's probably not bad. We've got no figures really next week. I think inflation's out of the way.
Aussie government next.
Seriously, when we're getting 4% down days in the Nasdaq and the Mag 7's down 20%, no one gives a crap about employment in Australia.
What FOMC is next?
That's dicey because Jerome Powell could just give the bird to Trump, or he could help. He could help out.
I'm curious what the market's pricing in there. Okay.
Oh no rate movement for like till November.
I remember last inflation print. That's when they kind of just wiped the expectations away.
Yes, yeah. So and then there's no inflation in Australia, but there is going to be a 10% jump in electricity bills next bill.
Oh, it's the rebates. Oh,
No. Beyond. So the rebate comes back out, and then it's 10% on top of that.
There's a big bill coming.
And hang on. Just let's have a think about that. So that electricity bill will fall in the new government cycle. Well played, Mr. Albanese. Well played. So the economic numbers, like there is still very large inflation here. So, but I mean, egg prices are down. So
that's okay.
Trump's solved inflation. But
well, anyway, are we done? Cool.
Yeah, no, we're done. And,
thanks for watching and listening.
And
stay safe in the market.
Definitely stay safe.